Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Now, inshallah, I'm going to start because it's 7 p.m. Okay. As I've already mentioned in the group that today we will do chapter 11, Respiration and Gas Exchange, right? Okay. Now, who will tell me the difference between respiration and gas exchange? And why did they name the chapter, in this way separately, respiration and gas exchange? What's the difference? Are they the same thing? Are they different? And if they're different, how? Please raise your hands and I will give you a chance. Okay, Amina? Yes, Amina?
Respiration is the breakdown of glucose to produce energy, and the gas exchange is the breathing in and out of air, like breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide.
Okay. So, yeah, you're close. Yes, you're almost correct. Yes, you are correct, but just a minor improvement that I would bring to your answer is you said respiration is the breakdown of glucose to release energy. Is energy the only product? Do we get anything else? Glucose breaks down to give you energy and yes, okay. Let me check the chat window. Yes, carbon dioxide and water. Yes, carbon dioxide and water, right? And energy. So these are the three products. So that is respiration. So what is gas exchange? Now, gas exchange is the exchange of gases, right? That takes place at the level of lungs. The diffusion of oxygen into the blood and removal of carbon dioxide out of the blood, right? That's the basic gas exchange we talk about, and that takes place in the alveoli of the lungs, right? But breathing, when you use the word breathing, now in science, we are very particular about the terms we use, okay? Like in daily language, we don't care what the words exactly mean, but we just understand and we let it go. But in science, we have to be specific about the terms. Usually people use the term respiration for breathing as well. You know, what is the respiratory rate? What's the respiratory rate? And they take it as the breathing rate. But actually respiration is that reaction, that breakdown of glucose into carbon dioxide and water. And breathing. Now, how will you differentiate breathing for respiration? Breathing is the movement of the whole respiratory system, you know, of the ribs going up and down, and you actually taking in the air and then expelling the air out. That process of air going in and out, that going in and out, and the movement of your chest, that together comprises breathing. So respiration is the breakdown of that glucose within the cells into energy, carbon dioxide, and water. And breathing are these movements of the chest, of the ribs, of the lungs, of whatever, you know, the movement that is required to bring the air in, the air getting in and the air getting out. So respiration, breathing, gas exchange, these are three different terms. And gas exchange is the diffusion of oxygen into the blood and carbon dioxide leaving out of the blood. So once you appreciate the difference between these three terms, then we will start this chapter. So let's talk about respiration. Now, why do we need respiration? Why do we need respiration? Why is respiration important? I want more participants. R. Ali, okay, you are a new participant, so I'm gonna give you a chance. Yes? Oh, sorry. Yes, R. Ali. Yes?
Respiration is the breakdown of glucose to form energy. So without respiration, we cannot have any energy in our bodies.
So why do we need energy? Why do we need energy? Okay, Shamim? Yes? Wait, Yes, I am connected. Yes, Shamim. Yusra. Okay. Yes, Yusra. Yes. Why do?
Yeah, we need energy for active transport, for cell division. We can also need for so we can move our body parts.
Okay. Why? What is active transport? Since you have mentioned it, now I want you to tell me what active transport is. Yes. Yes, I'm listening. Shamim, Shamim, do you want to answer this question? Okay, what is active transport? Ajwa. Yes, Ajwa.
Active transport is the movement of molecules in ion in or out of the cell through the cell membrane against a concentration gradient and by using energy from respiration.
Yes, using energy. It can be from anywhere. Yes, but if you're talking about the, the organism, yeah, the human body, then yes, from respiration. Yes, so active transport is the movement of ions or molecules through a partially permeable membrane against the concentration gradient using energy. So yes, okay. So, so that's why we need respiration, because we need energy, and the fuel that we use is glucose, right? Respiration is a process in which a molecule is used as a fuel. I mean, this is not a proper definition. This is what, this is how this is my way of defining respiration. It is a process in which a molecule is used as a fuel. And what is that molecule? That molecule, glucose, is the best preferred molecule by our body, especially our brain. Okay, why? Because it is simple, it is small, it is packed with energy. It can easily pass through the cell membranes, therefore cells can easily use it, and therefore whatever is used as a source of energy, be it glycogen, be it lipid, be it protein, whatever is used as an energy, eventually that thing is converted into glucose before it can be used to give energy. Why? Because of this reaction. Because of this reaction, in which glucose burns in oxygen to give you carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Okay? Why do I call oxygen as a burning gas? Why do I call oxygen as a burning gas? Why? Anybody? Why is oxygen called a burning gas? Yes. Yes. Yeah, it seems like you guys are reading the book before attending the class, and I like it. Good job. Yes, that's a good thing. Read the book before the class. Okay, so reason why oxygen is called a burning gas is because it supports burning. It supports the process of burning, and when it combines, when it combines with carbon, it releases a lot of energy, so much energy that it turns into a flame. And that process is called burning. And that's exactly what happens when you burn wood, right? When you're burning wood, by the way, or when machines or factories are burning fuels, essentially it's the same process. It is this process which is going on, right? Same process. I mean, the fuel molecule is going to be different. In case of machines and in case of factories, they're going to be hydrocarbons instead of glucose. You will have, like the petrol that you put in your car. What is that? That's a fuel for the car, but the reaction, the process is the same. That fuel is hydrocarbon, is made up of hydrocarbon, which combines with oxygen to give you carbon dioxide, water, and energy. And this energy is what moves your car. This energy is what drives the vehicles, right? But in humans or in animals or in plants and in living organisms, we call it respiration. We call it, and when it takes place in the cells, we call it cellular respiration. Okay, but if this takes place in a machine, it's just called combustion. It's called combustion. Okay, but the process is the same, right? The fuel molecules are different though. So I want you to get yourself familiarized with this glucose molecule. It's a hexagonal ring. Okay, it helps. I don't think it's required, but it helps. It will help you in understanding a lot of things. So this is a hexagonal ring. Okay, you can see it has 6 carbons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 carbons. So C6H12, there are 12 hydrogens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then this is 12, right? And then 6 oxygens. You can go ahead and count. So that's how we have this formula, C6H12O6 combining with oxygen to give you carbon dioxide, water, and energy. And go ahead and balance it, and you will see that you write 6 next to these: oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water. Right. Now let's move on. So where exactly in cells does this process take place? The cellular respiration, where exactly? In mitochondria? The whole of it takes place in the mitochondria? Yes, that's what is written in the book, but yes. But the starting point, the initial few steps of the process take place in the cytoplasm. But yes, the important steps take place in mitochondria. Okay? And this energy, which is released, what is the form of this energy? Now, another thing I would like to mention here is that when you have energy trapped in a molecule, when you have energy trapped within the bonds of the molecules, what is that energy called? Like right now here at this stage, in the form of glucose molecule, what is the form of energy in this particular molecule? What is the energy conversion going on? That's my basic question. From what type to what type? Remember energy transformation in physics? Potential to kinetic, kinetic to potential, mechanical to heat, this to that. So what is this? And remember, whenever there's work going on, there is some energy transformation going on. So this is also an example of an energy transformation. So what is the type of energy here, and what is it getting converted into? Yes, potential to kinetic, chemical to heat. Good job, Hiba. Yes, Ajwa also, chemical to heat, yeah. Not kinetic, no, not kinetic, okay. Potential, well, I will not mark potential completely wrong, because chemical energy is a type of potential energy. You know, we have different types of potential energy. So chemical potential energy is one. So this is chemical potential energy is getting converted into, yes, heat, which is thermal, but remember, not all of it is getting converted into thermal energy. Some of it is still retained as chemical energy in the form of ATP. Now, this is not written in your book. Don't get confused, but I want you to know that not all of it is in the form of heat. Some of it, in fact, most of it, heat is a very little part of all of this. Heat is a very little part of it. Heat is what maintains our body temperature. But ATP, yes, I'm going to explain a little. Amna, ATP is a name of a molecule. Just know this much. Yes, ATP is just a name of a molecule in which energy is trapped. This is the form in which cells use energy. So you can call it currency of energy for our cells. Okay, you're going to do this in A levels, but I'm just mentioning it here. I'm just mentioning it. Currency for energy for our cells. Okay. Like, you know, our cells, the energy that you're talking about, you know, which is used for cell division, repair, nerve transmission, this and that, that all energy is not the heat energy. That all that work is not being done by heat energy. All that is being done by ATP. This heat energy, yes, you can call it kinetic. Well, by the way, yes, it is kinetic. So yeah, kinetic might not be wrong completely. So kinetic is this kinetic or thermal energy is the one which maintains our body temperature, that maintains our body temperature. You know, like in cold countries, people eat a lot. Why? Because they have to maintain their body temperature. So when they eat, this process increases, and so they have a lot of heat, which helps them in maintaining their body temperature, right? Now, so this is the process, or this is the reaction that needs to be taking place in a cell, right? This is what is vital for life. This is what will maintain life in a cell. Now, for this, for this to go on, you need supply of glucose and supply of oxygen. You need supply of glucose and supply of oxygen. Glucose will come from the food that we eat, right? The food that we will eat, the digestive system will digest it into the simplest form in which the food is broken down and which is easily usable by our cells and which can enter our cells easily is glucose from the food that is digested from the intestines. And then this oxygen will come from the respiratory system, But of course, the digestive system and the respiratory system are not exactly next to all the cells that require all of this. So we do need a communication system, right? We need roads that will bring the glucose and the oxygen to the cells which require them. So I made this schematic diagram sort of. Okay, so digestive system is bringing glucose, respiratory system is bringing oxygen towards the cells, and these cells will then carry out this reaction to have energy for their survival, right? Okay. You come and stand this way, and yeah. Okay, did you guys ask any question? Let me see. Because in physics, we mostly use kinetic for energy. Being used, heat is rarely used. See, yes, heat is average. Heat is, sit down. Heat is that thermal energy, total internal energy, which can flow from one object to another. So, and temperature is the average kinetic energy. Okay, these are also different terms, and you should know the difference between them. So here, if we're talking about thermal energy, a big part of it will be the kinetic energy. Why can't we use anything else instead of oxygen? That's a very good question, Sarah. I just explained you why oxygen is a burning gas. Because when oxygen combines with carbon especially, oxygen has a special affinity for carbon, a lot of energy is released. Or you can say that the bond formation between carbon and oxygen releases a lot of energy. And that energy is useful for our cells, right? So yeah, and then oxygen has a big affinity for carbon. So when they combine together, it's an exothermic reaction. And so that energy can be used. And of course, as I gave you the example of wood burning, the same phenomenon is going on. What's happening? Oxygen in the air is dying to react with carbon in the wood. And when they get that chance of combining together, a lot of energy is released, which turns into a flame. And that's how you have fire, right? But in organisms, the same process takes place in a controlled fashion, because we don't want fire in our body, right? We don't want uncontrolled release of energy. So all the same process, but in a controlled manner. Okay. Okay, so I don't know if I have mentioned this, but I wanted to talk a little about this. All the reactions, whether they are exothermic or endothermic, will require energy and will release energy. All of them, whether they're exothermic or endothermic, all of them require energy and all of them release energy. You must be remembering that diagram, this diagram, the energy level diagram that we did in chemistry. Remember this energy diagrams in which, you know, like for exothermic reaction, the energy level diagram is this way, and for the endothermic reactions, the energy level diagram is, how is the energy level diagram for an endothermic reaction? Is this? Yes, yes. So what is this? This is energy being taken in, and this is energy being released. This is energy being taken in. So all the reactions take in energy and they release energy. What makes them exothermic and endothermic is when the energy, why is the energy required? Because you need to break the bonds first. You need to break the bonds first. And why is energy released? Because you make the bonds, you form new bonds when you are making products, right? So this is the reaction going on. So you need to break the bonds here. You need to break these bonds to make carbon dioxide, right? To make carbon dioxide, which is this simple molecule. So you break these and you make these, right? So this requires energy and this is releasing energy, but the net result is that the energy released here is more compared to energy required here. That makes this reaction highly exothermic because there's a lot of energy released. So that's what I'm trying to say here, right? That endothermic, when the energy required to break bonds is greater than energy released by bond formation. Now, remember, we know when you are striking a match, when you strike a match with the help of a matchbox, when you rub the tip of the match against the matchbox, what are you doing with your hands? You are providing that initiating energy, this energy. You are providing it this energy by your striking, your friction. The hand, the work that your hand is doing is providing this energy. And then this energy released is the energy released in the form of fire. This is in the form of fire. Now, once the fire has started, you don't need to strike it again. Why? Because now this energy, it will be initiating the rest of the wood to burn. This will provide that initiating energy which is required for the burning of the rest of the wood. So the process of burning goes on without you doing anything. So if you strike a little piece of paper and it gets flame, the rest of the burning will continue without you doing anything. So that's how things get on fire. So exothermic reactions is when energy released by bond formation is greater than energy required to break the bonds. Now, we come across this term metabolic reactions, very common. So I wanted to talk a little about what do we mean by metabolic reactions. See, we have two sorts of reactions going on in our body. One I would call making reactions, other breaking reactions. Making reactions, like we are trying to make something big from small, big molecules from small. Breaking reactions is just the opposite of it. We are breaking big molecules into small, okay? Now, these are the terms. Anabolic reactions are the making reactions, where you try to make big molecules out of small. And I will give you examples in a while. And breaking reactions are called catabolic reactions. Cat for cut, cut. You cut the big molecules down into small, okay? Small molecules to big is making reaction. Now, also appreciate that most of the anabolic reactions in which you are making big molecules out of small, they require energy. They require energy. For example, growth. When we are growing, what's happening? Our cells are dividing and the size of the cell is increasing. And increased cell size means that you need more proteins, you need more lipids to make cell membranes, you need more carbohydrates, everything more, right? So what the body is doing is that it is making big molecules out of small. Big molecules, can you see the big chain? This is one glucose molecule making big chain. So this is glycogen, or big chain of glucose. So we are making big protein out of small molecule, which is an amino acid. And I hope you know that proteins are made up of amino acids. And this polysaccharide is made up of glucose, small glucose molecules, and then lipids are made of fatty acids and glycerol. So all these are examples of small molecules getting into big, turning into big molecules. They're joining together to form big molecules, and these are all anabolic reactions, and these all require energy. They all require energy, right? Anabolic reactions require energy. Examples, growth, and then there is cell division. By the way, I won't go into the details of cell division. That we will do, inshallah, in grade 9, okay? But yes, I'll talk about repair. In repair, what happens? The damaged tissue is replaced and new tissue arises. That new tissue arising is cell division. That new fresh cell tissue arising underneath the damaged tissue is cell division. So that is also an example of making reaction, or big molecules being formed out of small. And all these require energy. And this is why they, by the way, photosynthesis is also an example of an anabolic reaction. Why? Because if you have appreciated the fact that I used a reversible arrow for respiration, because this reaction is reversible. Forward reaction is exothermic, as you can see. Reversed reaction is endothermic, right? Forward reaction is called respiration, and reversed reaction is photosynthesis. Reversed reaction is photosynthesis. And since reverse reaction is endothermic, this energy is supplied by what? Tell me. You guys tell me. What supplies this energy for photosynthesis? Easy. Yes, good job. Sundus answered, she said sunlight. Yes, yes, Hiba, yes, good job. It's the sunlight. Sunlight provides this energy, right? Yes. Now, catabolic reactions. The reverse of all of this, big molecules turning back into small molecules, those are called catabolic reactions. They release energy. Example is digestion. This is exactly what happens in digestion, right? The big chains are broken down into smaller ones. The big chain is broken down into smaller ones. And then this glucose is then absorbed through the intestinal walls and is then taken to our cells. So the opposite of this, big molecules turning back into small molecules, digestion, all these processes release energy. All right. Okay. Yusra, do you want to ask a question? Because I can see your hand raised. Okay. Okay, chlorophyll, Yusra, is not providing energy. I mean, when I asked what is providing energy, I meant to ask what is the source of energy, right? Chlorophyll traps it. Right. Chlorophyll is a catalyst. Good job, Sundus. I appreciate it. Yes, chlorophyll is a catalyst. Source of energy is sun. Okay. What now? So now you appreciate, now you know why growth and repair require energy, right? And yes, now we'll talk about something else. I'm trying to explain this list. Okay, don't just take this for granted. Don't ratify. Understand why. Why is it that, you know, cell division requires energy? Why you know, making and breaking reactions require and release energy? If you have any question, you're free to ask, okay, in the chat window. So we talked about the making and breaking, right? And by the way, catabolic and anabolic reactions together are called they are called metabolic reactions. They're called metabolic reactions. So when we say metabolism, we are using a collective term. We are referring to both of these types of reactions. Metabolism. Okay, this is what we mean. Because I know this term is used very frequently in the book, and most of the students don't understand the meaning of what metabolism is. Okay, so growth and repair was one reason why our body requires energy. Another reason is to maintain the temperature of the body. especially in situations where the surrounding temperature is below the body temperature. Okay, we are warm-blooded organisms, so our body temperature does not fall to the surrounding temperature. We tend to maintain, and all the warm-blooded animals, which includes mammals, birds are also warm-blooded. Okay, so yeah, all the warm-blooded animals, they maintain their body temperature, and this is the mechanism. I mean, of course, the source of heat for maintaining body temperature comes from respiration, breakdown of glucose. Then for work, of course, for work is just another name for energy. Energy is the ability to do work. Contraction of muscles to move different parts of the body. When our muscles contract, that is work. Okay, so for that we need energy. Energy in the form of ATP. ATP. Muscles cannot use thermal energy. Muscles cannot, and no cell in our body can use thermal energy as a form of energy for its functions. Okay, it's always ATP in the form of ATP. Then active transport. Now active transport, I think Ajwa has already defined it beautifully. I don't need to explain it anymore. Transmission of impulses through nerves. Now this is one process that takes up the most energy. This is the most energy consuming process in our body, transmission of nerve impulses. Now, why is it so energy consuming? Because you haven't done the transmission of impulses. So you have? No, I don't think so. Yeah, but you guys have not done the mechanism of transmission of nerves, of impulses. So this is also active transport basically. Yes, Amna, it's fast. It's as fast as electricity, or in fact faster than that. The reason why I'm able to talk, I'm able to understand, and the reason why you are able to see and you're able to understand is because of these nerve transmission impulses. So a transmission of impulses is also an example of active transport. Okay, why? Because charges are maintained by the movement of ions. These charges are maintained by the movement, because what is an impulse? Impulse is a charge. A charge moves along the neuron, just like a charge flows through a wire in a circuit. So that charge in case of our body are not electrons simply. They are charges like sodium, potassium, and that is due to the maintenance of charge, and that charge maintenance is due to active transport. Active transport meaning that the charges need to move against the concentration gradient through the membrane using energy in the form of ATP. Again, ATP, not thermal energy. ATP is also, the form of energy in ATP will be called chemical potential energy. Okay, let me look at if the source for keeping body temperature is respiration, cold animals don't respire. No, I did not mean to say that. Yes, Sundus, you want to answer? Yeah, because you're answering, right? So go ahead and answer. Yes. Yes.
I'm not sure if this is correct.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
In cold-blooded animals, the energy from respiration, their nervous system does not use that energy for keeping them warm because it doesn't think it's necessary, and for them it's not necessary, but for us.
Yeah, I think we require more energy because we are not dependent upon the surrounding temperature, whereas cold-blooded animals, their temperature is not maintained. Their body temperature is the same as the surrounding temperature. So they might be respiring, but that respiration is not releasing enough energy to maintain their body temperature. Maybe enough to carry out their vital functions, but not enough to maintain their body temperature. Otherwise, they would have maintained, right? So the reason why they cannot maintain their body temperature is because they don't have that extra thermal energy. This is my understanding, but we can look into it deeper. ATP's full form is adenosine triphosphate, but because it's not included, I did not get into it. Okay, adenosine, if you want me to write it, I can write it, adenosine triphosphate. It's a nucleic acid triphosphate. This is what ATP stands for. You will do this in detail in A levels. Don't worry. Okay, so yeah, because we maintain temperature, therefore we need more energy than those. Now let's talk about aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Air means oxygen. Okay, aerobic respiration means respiration with oxygen. Now energy is released when glucose combines with oxygen. This is the same thing. Now remember, this reaction, this equation is an oversimplified reaction. It's an oversimplified. Do you know there is a big cycle of reactions which leads you from glucose to this? This is not as simple as we have written here, the straight arrow. This story is simple for as long as you are in IGCSE. The moment you enter A levels, the story changes. And you have 3 big processes that you will have to learn. You will have to learn the steps of those processes. No, that's different. So this process is not this simple. Okay, this is a multi-step process, and each step is controlled by enzymes. Okay, the first step takes place in the cytoplasm. The rest of all of them take place in the mitochondria. So yeah, just say mitochondria, or yeah, cytoplasm as well. Anaerobic, an means without oxygen. So without oxygen, respiration that takes place without oxygen. Now look at anaerobic respiration as like sort of an emergency, what should I call, like your emergency exit, like when you are short of time and you want something immediately right now, and I cannot wait for the heart and the lungs and the circulatory system to bring the oxygen. And when you want it really, in an emergency situation, that is when our body resorts to anaerobic respiration. Right, when you need to run away from some danger. But in the long run, this is an inefficient source of getting energy. Why is this inefficient? Because now, but before I get into that, let me also mention that so our body uses this for emergency situation, but then in other organisms, which include prokaryotes which live in low oxygen environment, such as yeast, single cell fungus. In these organisms, and these are very low in animal classification, they are prokaryotes, they also use anaerobic respiration, okay, as a source of their energy. And there is difference between the anaerobic respiration that takes place in our body and the one that takes place in these yeast cells, okay? So I will talk about the anaerobic respiration that takes place in these yeast cells, okay? This is the reaction. This is what happens. So you can see how this is different from aerobic respiration. So appreciate the differences. So the substrate is the same. I mean, the reactant is the same. Fuel molecule is the same, which is glucose. But you can see that it is not reacting with oxygen because it's anaerobic without oxygen. And the products are also different. Carbon dioxide is there, okay, but we don't have water. And by the way, I should have written here energy. I forgot. And then ethanol is our other product. And this is the structure of ethanol. Yes, ethanol is an alcohol. Yes, ethanol is an alcohol. So this is energy and carbon dioxide. And you can see there is no water, okay? And there's ethanol, okay? So that means, right. So the reason why this energy is less, and I'll tell you how less it is. In aerobic respiration, if, for example, you get 38 ATP molecules. If, for example, in aerobic respiration, you get 38 ATP molecules from one glucose molecule, or you can say 38 ATP molecules per glucose molecule, then an anaerobic, this is for aerobic, then for anaerobic, you get 2 ATP, only 2 ATP molecules for each glucose molecule. For each glucose, you get 2 ATP in anaerobic. In aerobic, for each glucose, you get 38. So you can see such a big difference. There's a big difference, okay? Why is this difference? Why do we have this difference? Is because, as I told you, the reason why energy is released, why respiration is such an exothermic reaction is because oxygen and carbon have big affinity, big time affinity towards each other. They want to combine with each other, and that releases energy. Now here, as you can see, some of the carbon atoms are still bonded to each other. Some of the carbon atoms are still bonded to each other as well as to hydrogen atoms, and these carbon atoms did not contribute towards the energy. So therefore, some of the energy is still trapped within this ethanol. Not all the carbon atoms combine with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and release energy. Many are left behind, still bonded in the ethanol. So therefore, you can see that for each mole of glucose, you're getting 2 moles of carbon dioxide, whereas in aerobic, yeah, for example, whereas in aerobic, for each glucose molecule, you were getting 6 moles of carbon dioxide and a lot of energy. Now, this reaction is different. This anaerobic reaction taking place in anaerobe prokaryotes, such as fungi and plants, is different from the anaerobic respiration that takes place within the human body, especially the muscles. Why muscles? Is because when we are exercising vigorously, or if you want to run away in case of emergency situations, it is our muscles that do the job of moving our lungs. So, right. So they are in need of energy, and so glucose is then converted into lactic acid, and no carbon dioxide at all, and no water. But yes, I should have written energy here as well, but very little energy. Energy is less. Again, you can see 3 carbon atoms. Now, there were 6 carbon atoms total. There were a total of 6 carbon atoms in glucose. Out of those 6, 3 are still bonded within lactic acid molecule. Out of those 6 carbon atoms, 3 are still bonded, okay? And there is no carbon dioxide produced. So therefore, so half of the carbon atoms only, maybe. Yeah, you know, there should be carbon dioxide, shouldn't it? Because there was some energy released. But yeah, I'll find out. So, yes, is there any question? Let me take your questions and then we will go to experiments. Yes, okay, ethanol is type of, isn't it lactic acid? There is not much energy. Okay, is there any question so far, or should we move on to the experiments? Or the questions? What do you want to do? Questions or experiments? We have only 15 minutes. Let's do the experiments, will take longer. Experiment is better. In 15 minutes, do you think you can do in 15 minutes? Wait, okay. What is the purpose of respiration? What is energy? What is the energy released by respiration used for? I think you can do these questions. List 3 ways in which anaerobic respiration, yeah, the answers are written at the back. So, okay, let me do just one experiment, okay, real quick. I'll do one experiment, okay, and I will share my screen. I will use that. Okay. Okay. This page. No. It'll open. Yes, this one. Yes, this page 142 to show the uptake of oxygen during aerobic respiration. or should we do this investigating? Okay, let me do this first. To show the uptake of oxygen during aerobic respiration. Now, what is the purpose of this experiment? To show that oxygen is being taken in during aerobic respiration. So before you design or before you study any experiment, the purpose of that experiment should be in your mind. So the purpose is to prove that oxygen is being used during aerobic respiration. Okay, now we have two setups. We have two apparatus. We have two setups. Both of them have container containing soda lime. What is soda lime? Any idea? Do you remember? Yes, it's a drying agent. Good job, Sundus. Yes, it's a drying agent. It absorbs carbon dioxide. It is a mixture of calcium hydroxide and sodium hydroxide. Okay, and its purpose is to absorb carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so why have we used it? Because we want to eliminate carbon dioxide so that the difference in the volume of the air would be due to oxygen consumption only. Am I right? Okay. So this first setup is our control, and the second setup is our test. I mean, is our actual experiment. And A is our control. What is a control? What is a control? Who will answer me? What is a control in an experiment? Yes, let me check the chat window. Designed? What do you mean? What do you mean? What is a control in an experiment? You compare with it. Yes, okay, good. So, no, it doesn't mean airtight. Control means, now listen to this carefully. Yes, okay, Aisha Nadeem. One experiment where everything is kept constant. In experiment, it contains all the things needed for a reaction. Control is the normal and we use it to compare the results. Yes, good job. Yes, say it loudly.
To make sure the factor that we are controlling affects the results and not any other factor.
Yes, yes. And for that, yes, Aisha Nadeem, you are right. And Wajiha, you are also correct. Yes, you guys are all correct, but let me give you the complete answer. I mean, a complete answer. When you want to find out a factor which is affecting something, okay? For example, if I want to find out if temperature is affecting, for example, let's say respiration. This is just an example. If I want to find out the effect that temperature has on respiration, okay? Now, I want to design an experiment. If, for example, I say that temperature will increase the rate of respiration. This is my hypothesis. This is what I think. Now, I will prove it by an experiment, right? So this is my hypothesis. Now, temperature, I will design an apparatus where I will keep all the factors constant except for temperature. Where I will keep the factors, all the factors constant except for temperature. Temperature will be the only factor which will be different in my test setup, okay, my apparatus. So that would be my control, where I kept all the variables constant except for temperature, okay? So this is yes for comparison. This is to keep the results fair. And this is to eliminate any other factor affecting your results, right? So this A is your control. So the same container, same soda lime, same amount of soda lime, same source of soda lime, same concentration of soda lime, same wire gauze, okay? The only difference between the two apparatus should be the presence and absence of animals. Presence and absence of animals, okay? Because it should be these insects should be the ones using oxygen from the air, Okay, now we will dip this capillary tube in oil, and due to capillary action, I hope you know what capillary action is. Due to that capillary action, the oil, one drop would get into the capillary tube, and then what should you see? What should you see? What do you expect to see, and why? I want you to do some thinking. What do you expect to see? What should be your results? Okay, capillary action is, you know, when the, now I'm not going to go into details. Capillary action is when a molecule, like, you know, in this case, oil will have attraction towards the molecules that are making the capillary tube. And so that attraction will be responsible for sucking in a drop into itself. Okay, that's called capillary action. When the attraction between when attraction between different molecules, you know, like oil molecule is different from the molecule that's making the capillary tube wall. So that attraction between different molecules caused the drop to get into the capillary tube against gravity, okay? Yes, the purpose of putting in the oil drop is to check the purpose of putting the oil drop is to observe the changes in the volume of air inside the apparatus. To observe the changes in the volume of air inside the apparatus. So now tell me, where will the oil drop move in each apparatus and why? Okay, Sarah, less air, since more carbon dioxide absorbed and oxygen is finishing, so the oil is pulled. In which oxygen is finishing? In apparatus B, you mean, because the insects are respiring, so they are using up the oxygen, and in because they are respiring, they're also producing carbon dioxide, right? And that carbon dioxide is being absorbed by the soda lime. So there are two gases being removed from the air in apparatus B: oxygen by the insects and carbon dioxide by the soda lime. So there is greater decrease in the volume of air in apparatus B, which would cause the drop to move towards the container, right? Whereas in A, only the soda lime is absorbing carbon dioxide. There is no respiration going on, and therefore no oxygen is being lost, right? Look at the, I'm sorry, look at the apparatus. Look at the apparatus, see? Yeah, annotations. I don't know how to use the annotation. Yeah, oh, these are the annotations. No, okay. So I hope you understood. Right, now let's do these questions. When organisms respire, they take in oxygen, and I'm doing this A1 question regarding this experiment. When organisms respire, they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. Explain what happened to the carbon dioxide that the organisms and apparatus B gave out. What happened to that carbon dioxide that these insects gave out? Say it loudly.
Got absorbed by the soda.
Yeah, got absorbed by the soda lime. Okay, next question, A2. You should have found that the oil drop moved towards the container in apparatus B. Explain why this happened. Yes. Who wants to explain? Raise your hand. I'll unmute you. Who wants to answer this orally? Please raise your hand. Yes, A. Yes, please explain us the movement of oil drop in apparatus B.
The oil drop moved towards the beaker because the small animals, or example woodlice, they wanted to respire, so they took in oxygen, and the oil drop moved towards them. Like when the oxygen was taken in, it moved towards it.
All right. And the soda lime also absorbs the carbon dioxide. Right. Okay. Jazakallah khairan. Okay. So this is done. Now move on to the next question. A3. Suggest why it is useful to set up apparatus A. Yeah, why was it important to set up A? Momina? Good job, Saad. As a control test, yes. Amna, to make it, to keep the results fair, because yeah, you know, like to make sure that no other factor is responsible for our result, and it is only the use of oxygen. Right. Okay, move on to the next question. Describe how you could modify this experiment to investigate the effect of temperature on the rate of germinating seeds. Remember to state clearly which variable you will change and how, and which variables you will keep constant. What do you predict that you will find? If possible, carry out your experiment. So how will you design an experiment to investigate the effect of temperature on the rate of germination of seeds? On the rate of germination of seeds. You can, yeah, this is investigating heat production. Okay, this is the effect of heat on the rate of germination. So any ideas? Yes. All will stay constant. Yes, all the variables will stay constant. Yes, good job, Amina. All the variables should stay constant except for temperature and what else? So will you describe us the apparatus a little bit? Yes, okay. Shahriar, your answer is good. You will heat it? No, you won't heat it. You will use thermometers for different temperatures. Okay, ranging from room temperature onwards, like increase by 5 degrees. So start from 20 degrees Celsius, 25 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees Celsius, 35 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Celsius, and so on, right? And with the help of thermometer, you will make sure that the temperature is maintained, the required temperatures are maintained. And I would suggest that we keep the germinating seeds in vacuum flasks to maintain the temperature, to avoid the loss of temperature to the surroundings. And yes, and as Amna said, rest of all the other factors should be kept constant, but it's very difficult practically. I mean, how will you, what might be the other factors? Sunlight, what might be other factors? Availability of nutrients, and availability of water, and what else? Yes, carbon dioxide concentration. Yes, good job, Saad. And yes, the optimum temperature will be between 30 and 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, so this was a good discussion. And then do you want me to do, I think we are almost done. Okay, you want to do this, but we have only 2 minutes left. Okay, we will continue this in the next class. Is there any question? You can ask me questions. You want to do more questions? Okay, let's try these end of chapter questions. What is the purpose of respiration? Use the chat window to answer me. What is the purpose of respiration? I'm asking the end of chapter questions, but please do not look at the back of the book. Okay, otherwise, try yourself, try your understanding. Yes, to get energy. Yes, for the cells. Okay, the purpose of respiration is for the cells to obtain energy and to complete your, okay, yes. What is the energy released by respiration used for? Yes, for active transport. And what else? Come on. Yes, to maintain body temperature, for heat production. Yes, repair, growth, muscle contraction, active transport, nerve impulses, repair, right, transmission of impulses. Okay, let's move on. What is anaerobic respiration? Yes, Josefa, movement, good job. Shamim, growth, yes. Yes, anaerobic respiration, I would recommend you use this definition, but don't ratify, understand. Chemical reaction in cells that break down nutrient molecules to release energy without using oxygen. Chemical reaction in cells that break down nutrient molecules. And Also note down that they did not use the word glucose. They used nutrient molecule, meaning that there can be other nutrient molecules that can be used other than glucose. Right. Respiration without oxygen. Okay, good job, Momina. Move on. Name an organism which can respire anaerobically. Yeast, very good. Yes, very good. Yeast and humans for a short period of time. Humans for a short period of time. 11.5, yes, fungus. List 3 ways in which anaerobic respiration in humans differ from aerobic respiration. Anaerobic and aerobic. What are the 3 differences? What are the, yes, the one big difference is presence and lack of oxygen, right? One requires oxygen, one does not require oxygen. That is one difference. Second is, you're right. One has more energy, the other, anaerobic has less energy, aerobic has more energy. Third is in the products. In aerobic respiration, we are getting only carbon dioxide, water, and in anaerobic, we can get ethanol and carbon dioxide if it is in plants and other organisms, but in humans, it's lactic acid. Right, okay, next question. What is the next question? List 2 ways in which anaerobic respiration in humans differs from anaerobic respiration in yeast. Yes, Saad. Anaerobic respiration in humans produces lactic acid, whereas in yeast, alcohol is produced. And then the second is there is, yes. And the second, I think, is the presence and absence of carbon dioxide. Yeah. You know what? I think, like each glucose molecule must be producing 2 lactic acid molecules, because as you can see, each lactic acid has 3, right? And glucose has 6. So maybe 2 lactic acid molecules for each glucose molecule without the production of any carbon dioxide. So that is why the energy released is 2 less. Okay. So, okay, with this, we have done all the questions and we have ended this topic, but this experiment is left. Okay, this experiment plus activity 11.4 and activity 11.1. So inshallah, in the next class, we will discuss these activities. Okay, assalamu alaikum. If you have any question, please ask me in the group or privately as well. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Wa iyaki. Barakallah fi. Assalamu alaikum.